The room was quiet, but Shira's heart was pounding. She stood in front of the mirror, staring at the makeup on her face. It was all so familiar, the powders, the blush, the mascara, but today, something felt different. Something was about to change. Her fingers hesitated over the makeup kit, almost as if they knew what was coming. She had been using makeup for years, each layer a shield, a mask to hide the parts of herself she didn't want anyone to see. But what if just for once she let go? What if she showed the whole truth? Shira's eyes flickered to the clock. It was time to leave for work, but she couldn't shake the feeling that today was going to be different. She had spent so much of her life protecting her look, but now she wondered, what if they knew? What if they knew what was really beneath her makeup? With a deep breath, Shira closed the makeup kit and left it on the counter. The weight of the decision was heavy, but she knew it was time. She couldn't keep pretending anymore. The first step felt terrifying, but as she whirled out the door, she realized something. This wasn't just about her face. This was about who she really was. Shira had always been beautiful. Her shining eyes, her glowing skin, and her radiant smile. People admired her, envied her, and thought she had everything. But they didn't know what it cost her to look that way. They didn't know what was really under her makeup. Every morning, Shira woke up early, just so she could take her time getting ready. It wasn't just about looking good. It was about hiding the truth. The truth was, Shira had a past full of things she didn't want anyone to know. Painful memories, regrets, tears, things no one would ever see behind the perfect face she created each day. At work, people smiled at her, complimented her, and asked her how she managed to always look so put together. She would smile back and say it's all about the right makeup. But that wasn't the whole truth. Shira knew makeup was like a mask. It made her look flawless, but it also kept people from seeing her real self. She felt like she was living in a world where no one could ever know the person she really was. The person she was when the makeup came off. And yet, today was different. As Shira stood there in the mirror, she couldn't stop thinking about the decision she had made. Today, she wasn't going to wear makeup. It felt strange, terrifying even, but it also felt freeing. Her hands shook as she touched her bare face. She had never allowed herself to be seen like this before. No powders to cover her skin, no mascara to make her lashes longer. Just her, the real her. She wasn't sure if she was ready, but she couldn't back out now. The clock ticked loudly in her ears. The day was waiting. The world outside didn't know what she was about to do, but she knew it would change everything. She wasn't just taking off her makeup. She was taking off the armor she had worn for so many years. For a moment, Shira wondered what people will think. Her co-workers, her friends, will they still see her the same way? Will she think she was still beautiful without the layers of makeup? Will they see the real her? Shira closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and walked out the door, ready to face the world for the first time without hiding. When Shira walked into the office, the silence was almost deafening. Her co-worker stopped mid-conversation and stared. Her best friend Rachel raised an eyebrow. Shira, "You are not wearing makeup today?" she asked, almost in disbelief. Shira smiled, but it felt forced. "No, I'm not," she said softly. I decided it was time to be real, to stop hiding. The room was still, and for the first time, Shira felt exposed. Without her makeup, she was vulnerable. No longer the perfect smiling woman people expected, but deep down, she knew she had made the right choice. The real Shira, the one without the mask, was starting to come to the surface. Her boss, Mr. Thoner, glanced at her and then quickly looked away, unsure of what to say. He had always complimented her on how polished she looked. Would he still think she was just incapable, just as professional without the perfect appearance? Shira felt a wave of self-doubt wash over her, but she quickly pushed it away. "This is me," she remembered herself. "I didn't need makeup to prove I'm good enough." The day was long and Shira could feel the eyes on her. People were curious, maybe even confused, but nobody said anything outright. They were all wondering the same thing. What had happened to the Shira they knew? By lunchtime, the whisper started. "Did you see Shira this morning?" someone said. "She looks so different." Shira overheard bits and pieces of the conversation as she walked by her co-worker's desk. They weren't being cruel, but they didn't understand. Why would she do this? They wondered. Rachel, however, pulled Shira aside. "Are you okay? You look, I don't know, kind of sad." "What happened?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Shira took a deep breath, and for the first time in years, she felt the weight of everything she had been hiding. "I'm tired of pretending," she admitted. "I'm tired of wearing a mask. I want to see me for who I really am, not just the version of me I show through my makeup." Rachel was silent for a moment. Then she gave Shira a gentle hug. "You've always been beautiful, Shira. But I think you will be even more beautiful when you stop hiding." Shira smiled, feeling a little lighter. She didn't know what was ahead, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was on the right path. The next few days weren't easy. Shira kept waiting for someone to say something harsh, to make her regret her decision. The whispers didn't stop. Her co-workers still looked at her differently, as if they were trying to figure her out. Some of them would smile, but it wasn't the same. The compliments weren't as frequent, and she felt the silence in the air when she walked into a room. It made her second guess herself. Was I really ready for this? One evening, as Shira sat in her car, she thought about all the years she had spent hiding behind the makeup. Why did I think I needed it? She wondered. I'm still the same person, with or without the makeup. She thought about her childhood, how she had always been told that beauty was important, that if you looked perfect, people will like you. She had spent so many years trying to be perfect for everyone else that she had forgotten how to be herself. But now, things were different, and even though it felt hard, she knew that she had to keep going. She couldn't stop her from being what she truly was. Days passed, and slowly, things began to change. At first, Shira felt like she was walking through a fog, unsure of how people really saw her. But as time went on, she started to notice something surprising. People were starting to warm up to her. Her co-workers, who had once been unsure of her decision, were now approaching her with more kindness. Rachel became her biggest supporter, often telling Shira how proud she was of her bravery. One afternoon, her boss called her into his office. "Shira, I have been meaning to talk to you," he said, looking at her kindly. "I have noticed a change in you lately. You seem more confident, more sure of yourself, and I have to say, it's surprising and inspiring." Shira was taken back. "You think so?" she asked, surprised. "Yes," he said, smiling. "It's clear that you found something important, something that makes you stronger, and that's more valuable than any makeup." For the first time in a long time, Shira felt truly seen, not for the appearance, but for who she was inside. As the weeks went by, Shira's confidence grew. She no longer felt the need to hide behind anything. She had learned that the real Shira, the one without makeup, was just a worthy love and respect. Her friends, co-workers, and even strangers started to see her in a new light, not because of what she wore on her face, but because of the light that shone from within her. One evening, Shira sat at home. Looking in the mirror, she smiled at her reflection, not because she looked perfect, but because she finally felt whole. She had learned something important, that true beauty wasn't about hiding behind a mask. It was about being yourself, fully and truly, no matter what anyone else thought. And in that moment, Shira knew, if only they knew what was in my makeup, they would see the real me.